Welcome to an Echo of the Past channel. I am Hernan Cortés, the conquistador who conquered the mighty Aztec Empire and changed the face of the New World forever. Today, I'll tell you my story. The story of a man who dared to defy the odds, crossed the ocean to unknown lands, and with a handful of men defeated an empire of millions. A story of courage, intrigue, bloody battles, and historic decisions that changed the history of two continents forever. I was a conquistador, a diplomat, a warrior, and a politician. My name is synonymous with conquest and controversy. Some have called me a hero, others a tyrant. But no one can deny that I changed the world. Don't forget to subscribe to an Echo of the Past channel. Give a like if you like. I am Hernan Cortés, and this is my story. The story of a conquistador who dared to conquer the realm of the gods. The past whispers. The future listens. I was born in 1485 in Medellin, a small town in Extremadura, Spain. I was the son of Martín Cortés de Monroy and Catalina Pizarro Altamirano, minor noblemen with a big name but a small fortune. Even as a child, I knew I didn't want to live like a poor hidalgo with nothing but pride and a sword. My mother wanted me to become a lawyer. At the age of 14, she sent me to study law at the University of Salamanca. But I wasn't made for books and courtrooms. I wanted adventure, fame, fortune. I wanted the whole world to know the name Hernan Cortés. After 2 years, I left the university and returned home. Spain then was full of stories of the New World, of gold flowing down its rivers, of wild nations, of endless territories waiting for conquerors. Columbus had discovered America only 10 years before, and every young man wanted to cross the ocean to seek his fortune. In 1504, when I was 19, I finally dared. I boarded a ship bound for the New World. I said goodbye to my mother, who cried, and my father, who said, "Son, be careful, but be big." The journey across the Atlantic was hellish: storms, sickness, death. But I survived. When I first saw the coast of Hispaniola, I knew my destiny was beginning to be fulfilled. A new world, a land of opportunity, where a poor hidalgo can gain fame and fortune. I started in Hispaniola as a simple colonist. I was given a plot of land and Indian slaves to work it. But that wasn't enough. I wasn't cut out for the life of a farmer. I wanted more, much more. In 1511, I joined Diego Velázquez's expedition to conquer Cuba. I could finally show what I had. I fought bravely. I negotiated with the local chiefs. I won the trust of Velázquez. I became his secretary and confidant. In Cuba, I acquired gold mines and plantations. I married Catalina Suarez, a cousin of the governor's friend. I was becoming a man of wealth and influence. But it still wasn't enough. At night, I dreamed of golden cities, of empires waiting to be conquered. Then came news of expeditions exploring the coast of Mexico. They spoke of a mighty empire inland, of cities greater than Seville, of temples full of gold. An Aztec empire. They said it was impregnable, its warriors as countless as the stars in the sky. But I saw an opportunity. Velázquez was planning another expedition to Mexico. He needed a commander, someone brave, capable, ruthless. And I was the man. In 1518, Velázquez appointed me commander of the expedition. He gave me 11 ships and permission to gather men and supplies, but then he began to have doubts. He feared I was too ambitious, that I would rebel against his authority. He began to plot how to recall me. But I was quicker. In February 1519, before Velázquez could stop me, I sailed from Cuba with 11 ships, 530 men, 16 horses, and several cannons. I was a rebellious commander who dared to defy his governor. But I was free, and I was going to conquer the empire. April 23rd, 1519, the day that changed history. We landed on the coast of Mexico at a place I called Veracruz, the True Cross. In front of us lay an unknown land, behind us the sea that separated us from everything familiar. The local Indians watched us with fear and wonder. They had never seen white men, horses, or cannons before. They thought we were gods, and I took advantage of it. I told them we were coming in peace, but I was ready to fight if necessary. Soon I received gifts from the Aztec Emperor Moctezuma II: gold, feathers, expensive cloth. The messengers said, "Our ruler welcomes you, but begs you not to proceed into his land." But these gifts have only strengthened my resolve. An empire full of such riches must be conquered. But my men began to hesitate. Some wanted to return to Cuba with the treasures we had already acquired. They said, "We are too little against the whole empire. We will be slaughtered." But I knew that if we returned, Velázquez would punish us as traitors. I did something that became legend. I had our ships burned. Yes, I destroyed our own ship so no one could escape. I told my men, "We have only two choices now: conquer this empire or die. There is no turning back." It was a risky move, but it worked. My men understood that their only hope for survival and wealth was victory. They have become tigers with nowhere to retreat. Then I acquired something even more valuable than gold: a woman named Malinche, later known as Doña Marina. She was an Indian princess who spoke both Aztec and Mayan. She became my interpreter, my mentor, and my lover. Without her, I would never have understood Aztec, culture, politics, and weaknesses. With Malinche at my side, I began to negotiate with the local tribes. I learned something important. The Aztecs were not loved. Their vassals hated them for their cruel taxes and human sacrifices. I saw an opportunity: divide and conquer. On our way inland, we encountered the Tlaxcalans, a warlike people who were the age-old enemy of the Aztecs. At first they attacked us, thousands of warriors with obsidian swords and spears. It was a bloody battle. But our horses, steel weapons, and cannons worked wonders. The Indians had never seen a horse before. They thought the rider and the horse were one creature. The sound of the cannons scared them to death. After several battles, the Tlaxcalans realized they could not win. Instead of destroying them, I offered them an alliance. "Come with us," I told them. "We will help you destroy the Aztecs who have oppressed you for generations." The Tlaxcalan chiefs agreed. I gained thousands of warriors, and that was the key to my success. Then we arrived at the city of Cholula, a great religious center. The Cholulans greeted us with smiles, but Malinche told me they were planning a trap. They were going to murder us in the night. I decided to strike first. I summoned the Cholulan nobles to the square and then gave the signal. My men and the Tlaxcalan allies attacked. It was bloody. Thousands of Cholulans died. Some call it a massacre. I call it survival. In the new world, you must strike first or die. News of the Chulan massacre spread throughout the empire. The Aztecs understood that we were not gods but dangerous enemies. Moctezuma was in a great dilemma. Should he stop us or welcome us? November 8th, 1519. A day that is etched in my memory forever. We entered Tenochtitlan, the capital of the Aztec Empire, and it was a sight that took my breath away, even for a seasoned conquistador. The city lay in the middle of a lake connected to the shore by long dikes. White temples and palaces rose to the sky, canals filled with canoes, markets teeming with thousands of people. It was bigger and more beautiful than any city in Spain. Tenochtitlan had over 200,000 inhabitants, more than Seville, more than Madrid. Moctezuma II, the mighty Aztec emperor, welcomed us personally. He was dressed in a magnificent feathered cape, carried on a golden stretcher. But in his eyes I saw fear and uncertainty. He believed I was the incarnation of the god Quetzalcoatl, who was prophesied to return this very year. They put us up in the palace of Axayacatl, Moctezuma's father. It was a luxurious palace with fountains, gardens, and treasures. But I knew we were trapped. We were a handful of men in the middle of a city of millions of potential enemies. After a few days, I made a bold decision. I captured Moctezuma. Yes, I simply entered his palace with a few men and said, "Sir, you must come with us. You will be our guest. It was an incredibly risky move, but it worked. Moctezuma was so paralyzed by fear and superstition that he agreed. He moved into our palace with his entire court. Technically, he was still emperor, but in reality, he was my prisoner. I ruled the Aztec Empire through him. For 6 months we lived in Tenochtitlan as lords of the city. Moctezuma obeyed my orders. The Aztec nobility bowed to me. I collected gold, mapped the city, planned the next conquest. I seemed to have won without a single major battle. But then news came from the coast. Governor Velázquez sent an army to capture me as a traitor. Pánfilo de Narváez arrived with 1,400 men, 80 horses and 20 cannons. I had to leave Tenochtitlan and face this new threat. When I left to face Narváez, I left my deputy Pedro de Alvarado in Tenochtitlan with 140 men. It was a mistake. Alvarado was brave, but impulsive and cruel. During my absence, the Aztecs celebrated a religious festival. Alvarado feared an uprising, so he ordered an attack. His men stormed the temple and murdered hundreds of unarmed Aztec nobles. It was a massacre that raised hell. When I returned to Tenochtitlan, after defeating Narváez and getting his men, the city was seething with rage. The Aztecs revolted. Moctezuma no longer had any authority. His people considered him a traitor. I tried to use Moctezuma to calm the people. He went up to the terrace of the palace and begged his people to calm down. But instead of listening, the Aztecs showered him with stones and spears. Their own emperor was mortally wounded by his own people. He died a few days later. I understood that we must flee or die. On the night of June 30th, 1520, the night I call La Noche Triste, the sad night, we attempted a secret escape from the city. But the Aztecs discovered us. Thousands of warriors came at us from every direction. We fought on narrow dikes where every step could be fatal. Men were falling into the water weighed down by the heavy gold they'd pocketed. Horses were spooked. Cannons were lost. It was the worst night of my life. I lost over 600 Spaniards and thousands of Tlaxcalan allies. The gold we collected was lost. I myself was wounded in the head and arm. When we finally reached the shore, I sat under a tree and wept, the only moment in my life when I showed weakness. But I was not defeated. About 440 Spaniards and several thousand allies survived. And I swore revenge. I will return to Tenochtitlan, and this time I will conquer it for good. After La Noche Triste, we retreated to our Tlaxcalan allies. I needed time to recover and prepare. The new Aztec Emperor Cuauhtémoc was a young, courageous warrior, the complete opposite of the vacillating Moctezuma. I knew this time it would be a real war. I spent a year preparing. I had 13 brigantines built, small warships that could operate on Lake Texcoco. I raised a new army, 900 Spaniards and over 100,000 Indian allies. Yes, the Aztecs had so many enemies that I had a huge army. In May 1521, we began the siege of Tenochtitlan. We surrounded the city on all sides, cut off the water and food supply. My brigantines controlled the lake, so the city couldn't get help. It was a systematic plan of destruction. The Aztecs fought back with incredible courage. Every street was a battlefield, every house a fortress. Cuauhtémoc led his people with inspiring bravery. But hunger, thirst, and disease did their work. Smallpox, a disease brought by the Spaniards into which the Indians had no immunity, swept into the city. The siege lasted 3 months. Slowly, street by street, we took the city. I had to have Aztec buildings demolished to prevent traps and ambushes. I was sorry to destroy such a beautiful city, but I had no choice. August 13th, 1521, the day of final victory. Cuauhtémoc tried to escape in a canoe but was captured. They brought him before me, a young warrior, proud even in defeat. He put his hand on my dagger and said, "Kill me. I have done all I can to defend my city." But I didn't kill him. At least not then. I needed him alive to tell my people the war was over. Tenochtitlan has fallen. The Aztec Empire ceased to exist, and I became the master of New Spain. After the conquest of Tenochtitlan, I became the most powerful man in the New World. King Charles V of Spain appointed me governor and captain general of New Spain. A poor hidalgo from Extremadura became the ruler of an empire. I began to build a new city on the ruins of Tenochtitlan, Mexico City. Spanish churches were built on the foundations of Aztec temples, Spanish palaces on the sites of Indian houses. It was a symbol of a new era, a fusion of two worlds. I was not only a warrior but a builder. I founded hospitals, schools, monasteries. I supported missionaries who were to baptize Indians. I believed I was not only conquering lands, but spreading Christian civilization. But my success created envy. In Spain, I was accused of cruelty, of overreach, of too much independence. In 1528, the king summoned me back to Spain. I had to defend myself in court. I returned to Spain as a hero and an accused. The king accepted me, granted me the title of Marquis del Valle de Oaxaca and large estates in Mexico. But he never gave me back the power of governor. He didn't trust me. He feared I was too powerful. The last years of my life were bitter. I returned to Mexico, but I was no longer the master. The new governor took away my powers. My rivals took away my property. The man who had conquered an empire was slowly being forgotten. On December 2nd, 1547, I died in Spain, aged 62. I was sick, in debt, and disillusioned. My last words were, "I am poorer than when I came to the New World, but my legacy lives on. I changed the map of the world. I opened Central America to Spanish colonization. I destroyed the Aztec Empire, but I created a new civilization, Mexican, which is a mixture of Spanish and Indian culture. Was I a hero or a criminal? History judges me both ways. But no one can deny I was the man who changed the world. My life has been an adventure like the world has never seen. From a poor nobleman, I became a conquistador who conquered a mighty empire. I was bold, reckless, visionary. I brought Spanish culture and Christianity to the New World, but also the sword and disease. My legacy is controversial. To some, I am a hero. To others, a destroyer of civilizations. But one thing is certain. The name Hernan Cortés will live forever in the history of discovery and conquest. Thank you for listening to my story. Subscribe to An Echo of the Past channel and give a like. The past whispers, the future listens.